there's still some that are just not fun to read, and
Right.
it can be kind of, you know, depressing when it's like so many comments about like your makeup or your face or your body or whatever it is. And so after writing these songs, like I didn't think about how empowering it would be for me to be like, oh, well now I actually like, I want you to leave a hate comment.
So awesome. Well, again, this is about you and your journey in music. So first off, talk to me about where you were born and raised. I think I did read that you're from like Wisconsin, I believe.
Yeah, born and raised in Wisconsin, more cows than humans, just like literally there was my house, our neighbors were dairy farmers, my grandparents had horses. The dairy farm next to us, actually their milk went directly to the factory that my dad worked at.
Wow.
Yeah, so very, very small town.
Very fresh milk.
Very fresh milk. I even milked those cows a few times. So
Did you really? Did
yeah,
you grow up like working on the farm?
a little bit, a little bit. I decided cows weren't for me. I went into nursing instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So what about music? Do you come from a creative household at all, or?
I grew up listening to my dad play guitar, and he was also very into like rock music, but also specifically like Christian rock music.
Oh, cool. Sure.
So I was kind of raised on contemporary Christian music, which is also very easy to learn. Like the chord structures are very easy, the melodies are very easy and simple. So it's kind of a good place to start. And then from there, when I was able to like start choosing the music I wanted to listen to, it ended up being like singer-songwriters, we're telling stories. And then of course, after that came like Britney Spears, like my my first exposure to like pop music. And I was like, what is this? Like you can tell a story like you can with singer-songwriter music, but you can tell it in like a really interesting, fun, exciting way. And then just kind of fell in love with pop music from there.
Okay. And did you pick up guitar at an early age because your dad could play?
I did, yeah, but it was very like I picked up the guitar and within 4 days I could play it. I can't explain why. I just kind of knew how. I had no lessons, no training. Like my dad was in a worship band, like a worship, he was played guitar in a worship band for a church. And so he had all of these like chord sheets for the music. And so that's just how I learned, was like I would look at the chord sheets, I would look up the chords on the internet, and then I would like learn them. But like within 4 days, I was able to like play and sing at the same time. And there's
Oh my gosh.
I think music might just be like a thing my brain understands how to do.
Yeah, you're like a prodigy, especially like guitar. I mean, how old were you when you started playing?
I believe, gosh, I've been playing for as long as my youngest brother is. He's 18, so I've been playing guitar for 18 years. I don't know how long ago that was.
Wow. But still, I mean, if you're starting really young to play guitar and be able to move your hands and push the chords down, you got to build the calluses, all that stuff.
11, like 11 or 12, somewhere in there. Yeah.
But still, I mean, that's really impressive. Well, I mean, with piano also, but piano is a little bit easier on the hands, and you don't have to hold the big neck of the guitar and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So when you started playing 4 days, you could learn. Was your dad like, whoa, okay, we've got something here.
So that was when my dad sat me down, and he was like, I was also a very emotional child. And so he sat me down and he was like, this is great. You're going to be a songwriter. I'm going to teach you how to write songs. So it's going to be a really great outlet for you and your emotions. And he like talked to me about, you know, technically song structure, but like more importantly, like what kind of content to put in it, you know, emotions, heart, feeling, like what do you want people to know? What story are you telling? So he basically taught me how to write a song and was like, go.
Wow.
Create.
So right away you were writing after you kind of got the little short lesson from dad.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of writing little like poems and little songs even as young as like 7 or 8 years old, just like singing little tunes. And then once I picked up the guitar, then I could actually write like full real songs with melody and structure. Yeah.
Wow. Were you in the worship band at all, or did you play in church?
No, but the first place I sang was in church. It was my church did like theater as well. And so like the first time I sang in front of people was for one of their theater productions.
Wow. And with like, you know, singing and playing guitar and all that, were you known kind of as the guitar or the songwriter at your school or anything like that?
Kind of. Yeah. When I was in middle school, I played for my talent show, and And I was like so nervous, but the school was like, everybody was so supportive, and it was definitely my like boost to be like, I should start a YouTube channel.
Okay, so is that when you
Like
started
it.
on YouTube?
Yeah.
After that? Okay. And then was it just were you doing covers in the beginning?
Yeah, I started with covers. I also would mix in like original songs that I would write, and it was all just like live recorded, like not a great camera. Just there's even videos where you can like see me like like the most high tech I got was like I got a remote so I could like press record, but I'd have to press record and then run behind the camera. um
That's cool though. I mean, to start on YouTube that young and then to gain so much traction. I mean, I think what I was reading, you had like early on had like 100 million views and all, like, just were you seeing like a lot of people coming to your channel like fairly quickly, or was that just you just continually put up content and the channel just started to build?
kind of a mixture of both. Like I feel like when I first started posting videos, it was a really positive response, and it was also like, you know, when one of my videos would get more than 100 views, I'm like, well, that's more people than I know. So other people
Right.
besides like my mom, my grandma, and people at my school, like other people are watching my music that I don't know anymore.
Yeah, that probably felt I mean, that had to be pretty validating. 100 views still, you're just like, wow, I'm just doing this thing at home
Yeah.
and 100 people are watching this video.
Yeah, but I think within the first 6 months of posting videos, I had a few kind of go a little bit viral. And then I started getting phone calls from people like the Ellen Show and like Jonas Group Management, who at the time were like managing Jonas Brothers.
Jonas Brothers, yeah.
I ended up getting flown out to LA to like do my first like songwriting sessions and meet with managers, and but like within 6 months of posting videos, people were like noticing, which was
Wow.
I was still in high school at this time.
I was gonna ask, so you were still in high school,
Yeah.
you're doing these videos and like getting what was the first one that like really kind of went viral and you're like, whoa, like it's not 100 people anymore, it's
Yeah.
this many people that are, you know,
Well, my
listening.
first video to hit 1 million views was like this cover I did of Not Afraid by Eminem.
Oh, that's awesome.
It kind of makes sense because it's like one of those like you either love it or hate it, because I'm like this little blonde girl like rap singing an Eminem song, and it's like kind of cool but also really weird, like a really weird choice.
Well, that's probably what people gravitated towards. Whoa, like this an Eminem song, like acoustic by this little blonde girl. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that one took off, and then you're getting these calls. Was that kind of overwhelming? Like, what is happening? I mean, they're flying me out to Los Angeles. I'm still in high school.
I mean, not really. It was kind of my plan.
Okay.
Like, I'm gonna post videos on the internet. I'm gonna get famous. I'm gonna get popular. My music. This is how I'm gonna blow up. This is how I'm gonna get discovered. I'm gonna get flown out to LA. I'm gonna get a record deal. So like I had this vision. So when it started happening, I was like, oh my gosh, look at it. It's happening.
Like
but of course,
manifested
after that point is I think where the like, oh, this is gonna happen in a specific way. Like once you get to LA, all bets are off.
Sure. So
Yeah.
do you finish high school and then move to Los Angeles? Was that like the next move for you?
Yeah, so I graduated early, and then like 6 months early from high school, and then I was just flying out to LA every like couple of months. And then what we would do is I was working with this independent label who they just like specialized in making like bulk cover content for people. That's just what they did. And so I would fly out, I would record 10 songs in 3 days, and we'd film 10 videos, record 10 songs. And then I would leave and go home, and I'd have content for maybe 2 or 3 months. And then I'd come back out and do the same thing.
And it was all just cover songs at that point?
Yeah, with them, it was just cover songs. And then I was still sneaking original songs in there when I could. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did people, or like, were you always probably trying to say like, yeah, I can do the cover thing, like this is great, but like here's my music, here's my original music? Like when did people start to kind of take an interest or start to push that and, you know, kind of leave you to doing the covers as is?
I mean, I think I always loved doing both of them, but I think my mindset was like, I'm going to do the covers because it'll bring in an audience. It's a familiar song. And then the people, once they're there, then here, I'll show you some of my original music. That was always the strategy.
Okay. That's a smart, yeah, smart move. Okay,
Yeah.
here's some songs that you know, and then here's mine. It's
Yeah.
like if the people that play at like a bar for 3 hours, they'll do, a bunch of covers and then sneak in their own song every
Yeah.
once in a
Yeah.
while.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you're going back and forth from LA back to Wisconsin.
Mhm.
And is that when you were going to nursing school? Because you said you were a nurse.
Yeah, so I got I did my training for, it was CNA, so certified nurse assistant, so working in like a nursing home. So I
Uh-huh.
actually did that while I was in high school. So then I
Oh,
started
wow.
working, yeah, so then I was able to work as a CNA after high school.
Okay. So you're doing that and kind of traveling back and forth to Los Angeles.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And what did you eventually end up moving to LA or
I did
stayed in?
eventually end
Okay.
up moving to LA. It was kind of like I just ended up spending more time in LA than I spent in Wisconsin. Like I'd
Okay.
be in LA for like 3 weeks. I'd go home to Wisconsin for a week and then I'd fly back out. And I was like, this makes no sense. I'm spending more than half my time in a hotel. Like it's
Right.
miserable. Like I need my own place. So then I ended up moving in with a couple of girls who also made like cover content on YouTube as well. So it was kind of a fun living experience to like be out
Yeah.
in LA and then rooming with people who are doing something similar to what I'm doing. And it was pretty fun.
That is cool. And especially like and YouTube it's wild how it really has stayed and made careers for people and everything else. And it's still like massive, obviously. But it sounds like you're kind of one of the earlier adapters to YouTube if you were doing it back when you're still in high school.
Yeah, I think like I consider myself like maybe like wave 2 or wave 3 because there's like the OG wave that would be like Voice Avenue and Keena Grannis and like, and then there would be, and then maybe me or maybe a few other people and then me, like maybe then Kurt and like, yeah. But
Okay.
they were definitely the people I was like I looked up to and I was like I'm gonna work with you someday.
Sure. So when you get out to Los Angeles, are you still just mainly doing the cover thing as far as like when you're working with management and companies, or were you working on original music or starting to put out your own stuff?
Yeah, starting to put up my own stuff when I got to LA basically. So I was doing the covers and then the covers actually started making money, which they didn't at first. Like I'd say within a year of working with this company out in LA, they were finally making something worthy of quitting my job with nursing, which would be I think like 3 or 4 years into my YouTube channel starting.
Okay.
So quite a long time before the channel actually is making enough money that I'm like, okay, I don't need to work this job.
Yeah, sure. Was that a big day for you to go in and be like, you know what, this music thing is like, I'm
Yeah,
able to support myself?
actually, yeah, it was
I
pretty crazy.
bet.
It was pretty nuts. I was like, this is wild. Because I didn't do any of it with the intention of like, because when I started, there was actually no way to monetize videos. There was no way to make money off of YouTube. There
Uh-huh.
was maybe a way, like if people would download your songs from iTunes, like that's where I was started. Like Spotify wasn't a thing.
Right.
So there really weren't a lot of ways to monetize what you were doing on YouTube. It was more for just exposure and building an audience. So in my mind, that's all I was doing. I wasn't actually thinking, oh, this is going to be a career move, right?
Right. It was just people. If people know who I am, then hopefully they'll go
They'll
and
go buy
support
my
me.
music or listen to
Yeah.
or come to a show. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Your original songs.
yeah. So when it became a full-time job, I was like, wow, this is wild. And then I was like, well, I'm out in LA. It's really expensive here, but I am finally starting to make money. What do I need to do? So I was like, well, if I were to be signed to a label, they would start putting me in with anybody and everybody who would write with me just to start getting experience in writing, starting to build connections, finding people you like working with. And so I kind of put myself through my own artist development of like reaching out to people, getting in as many sessions as I could. I think there was a year where oh my gosh, I think I had over 100 writing sessions, and I also made over 50 videos in 1 year. So
Oh my
if you
gosh.
think I'm either writing a song or I'm either in a writing session or I'm in the studio recording for one of these videos, or I'm at a studio filming one of them, like maybe 200 plus days out of the year, I was either making a video or writing a song, making a video or writing a song. It was a crazy year. Definitely not sustainable, but I learned so much. I really learned a lot about writing songs. I learned a lot about content creation. At this point, we had started filming our own videos and editing them ourselves. Somewhere in here I got married. I don't know where.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so somewhere in there I found a nice boy in Wisconsin, and he was somehow I convinced him to move to LA with me and film my videos and yeah. But so at this point we were making a lot of the content ourselves. So I had left this label that I had been working with, and I was doing it all myself.
Okay. And then do you, when you put out your own songs, like, was there one of your songs or something that happened that kind of took you more in that direction of like, oh, wow, like now I just got validation from my original songs, or this label wants it, or this song did this many streams?
Yeah, so I put up my first EP, gosh, it has to be maybe six years ago now.
Okay.
Something like that, 5 or 6 years ago. It's called Wiser. And it was my first like collection for I think there were 4 original songs on the album. And I mean, people responded really strongly to the music, but I don't know. I mean, even to this day, I still do the covers. I just think they're fun.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I know I've heard some of maybe the newer ones. I think you did like a Taylor Swift one fairly recently, or
Yeah.
maybe that's even older. But yeah, I was listening to some of the covers that you're doing. It was really cool. Yeah, so you did Wiser, and then from there, were you playing out a lot around LA or doing any sort of touring or anything like that?
No touring yet. At that point, I think like I was doing shows like VidCon. I was doing like
Okay.
the like internet kind of festival things, fan fests and VidCons, and I guess that was me traveling around and playing shows. But I didn't play my first like headlining show for many years after that, until I released my song called Tetris. That was when
Okay.
I played my first headlining show after that. But I did open for Boyce Avenue on their tour.
Oh, okay.
I guess that would be my touring experience.
They're a cover band, right? Aren't they a big cover
Yeah, so
band
they
or
kind of
no?
did like what I did on YouTube, whereas you just posting a lot of covers, posting original songs, and basically I feel like they were like the first people to ever do it, or at least do it very successfully, and they're still very successful at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And with Tetris, was that song just took off for you, right? I mean, you're getting like television opportunities and all these things from that song.
Yeah, I think that song was the first time that I had like hired a team of people and like got people on board before I released the song. Because a lot of what I do, even with the covers, is very like reactive. It's like, oh, I need to get it out right now. And there's not like
Mhm.
a huge plan of like marketing or like how I'm going to get it out. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm going to make this content and put it out as fast as possible, and then just keep
Sure.
moving and working. And that is a strategy in its own right that works with a lot
Yeah.
of platforms, even like TikTok. Like now, just posting lots of content
Mhm.
is really a good strategy. But yeah, Tetris was the first time I was like, let's hire like a marketing team, let's hire a PR team, let's pretend I'm a label. What do I need to hire? What do I need to do? And so yeah, we kind of hired a team of people to help me with that one, which was really cool.
Yeah. And then was that when you ended up, did you get signed to a label at that point? I know you were
No, I've never been signed to a label, actually. I've been independent this whole time. So I've only ever signed like licensing deals for
okay, that's what it was.
periods
Because
of
it was with
time.
Warner, right? You had like a thing with Warner and I think
Yeah,
France
in
different.
in France.
Yeah.
So I only would really sign for like a specific collection of songs for a short period of time, and but I still owned all the masters. So
Oh,
it was,
that's amazing.
yeah.
Not a lot of people are
Uh,
that
yeah,
business savvy as you. That's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so then Tetris does really well. And are you, what year was that? 2019, 2018?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
2018, maybe? Yeah.
And off the kind of the heels of that success, were you just, okay, now I need to really focus on putting out more original music because what I did here worked. Obviously, like I hired this team and we put it together and the song did really well. Was that kind of the formula for the next stuff that
Kind
you put out?
kind of. I mean, I did fire my whole team after that song, and hired a whole new team. Um,
My bad.
kind of. Sort of.
Kind of, but I just got all new people.
Kind of. Yeah, it was a fun experience, but a lot of yeah, just a lot of things were handled weird.
Got it.
as are
You know
with
how-
independent, because it's you're just trying to figure it out. Like there's no, I mean, there's no standard contract anywhere in this industry. You're just trying to like make the best deals you can as you're going.
Right.
That the people are good people you're doing deals with. Right.
Oh,
um
wow.
yeah, but so after that, then I hired a new team of people, and I released Red Ribbon,
And
which
that
is
song was huge as well.
and still is like still happens to be one of those songs that people like love and resonate with. Like one of my top like streaming original songs on Spotify is like still big,
Yeah.
which is
Like,
cool, which makes sense because it's a topic of like, if you didn't relate to it when you listen to it the first time, at some point you're going to go through what the song is talking about, which is, it was a song that I wrote after my grandma passed away from cancer. And it was the first song I wrote after having grieved, because my grandma was a huge supporter of my music, like literally #1 fan. I would like joke that if she wasn't my grandma, I would have had to get a restraining order because she was quite obsessed. She would like hand out CDs like at the mall, and I'm like, Grandma, you can't do that, it's illegal. And she's like, I can do whatever I want, I'm an old lady. But so she was a huge supporter of my music, and so like when she passed away, I couldn't bring myself to like sing songs and write music because it just felt wrong without her. And so Red Ribbon was the first song I wrote after she passed away, and I was like, oh, I think this is a really powerful song that I should this experience of like having to go through this grieving process and what it feels like to pull yourself back together after your world's essentially been destroyed by the idea like this person's gone forever.
right.
As I put this song out there, and then I also made a video where I asked 10 of the coolest women in my life who have been through some pretty crazy things, and I put their stories in the video as well. And it's just been this really cool piece of content that, like I said, maybe you watch it once and you're like, oh, I don't really relate to any of this now, but at some point in your life, you're going to have gone through something that one of them have gone through, something that I've gone through. And then this video, like this song, just, it has many lives, it takes on many lives.
Yeah, that's such a cool concept behind the video as well, like reaching out to people. And was that hard to do, or like, or it was people you already knew? Okay, I know I'm going to grab these 10 people, or did you kind of have to seek out stories and stuff?
Yeah, most of them were friends or friends of friends.
Okay.
Like my sister was in it, my keyboard player was in it, a few of my friends who are content creators were in it. So it was a really beautiful video, and it came together so like naturally, and people were so like, those women were so brave to like share their stories. And like I've been sharing my stories for years, so it's natural for me to want to like share an experience that I've gone through that meant something to me. But a lot of these women have like never been on camera before.
Right. Yeah, you
This is their first time being interviewed. Yeah. I was like, you guys are so brave. Yeah.
Tell me this tragic thing. But wow, so you put out a handful of singles after that song as well. And then what about when the pandemic happens? Like, what are you up to at that point? And then how do you, obviously you already have the online thing going on where a lot of people that were like, uh-oh, now what do I do? I have to like do these live stream shows or whatever. You're kind of ahead of the curve on that. But did that affect any of you, writing music? Did you stay in LA?
Yeah, I stayed in LA, luckily. We almost moved, but as did, I swear, everyone in LA had the thought, they're like, we got to get out of here, it's crazy.
I'm from San Diego, and I moved in the middle of the pandemic to Tennessee.
Yeah. No, but we almost did the Nashville thing too. Yeah.
Oh, we could have been neighbors. Yeah,
So
we
close.
moved out.
We were so close. We had a house, we were gonna put an offer, and then I was like, why don't we just wait? Just wait until like LA goes back to normal-ish, and then let's make like a decision. No, but pandemic hits, and actually I was like 1 week away from leaving for my first headlining tour in China.
Oh my gosh.
We had like 15 sold out shows. Yeah.
But wow.
I mean, just think of the timing, like even 1 week difference of like when the country got shut down, I would have been in China or not in China. I would rather have been not in China than like
playing a show in Wuhan or something.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Maybe I would have learned Chinese because we would have been stuck there for a very long time.
Yeah, probably still be there.
So we had to cancel the tour, which was sad. But then I was like, well, what am I going to do at this time? Because I don't know if it's going to be a few months. a year more. Like people were talking, oh, it's only going to be a couple of months.
It was 2 weeks. Remember, flatten the curve.
Yeah.
That was a short lived.
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, oh, it's going to be at least 3 months, maybe 6. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, what am I going to do? So then I started teaching myself like production. So I started learning how to cut my own vocals,
Oh,
which
wow.
is, I'm so happy I learned how to do it. I think every vocalist, every artist should learn how to cut their own vocals. It's not extremely hard to learn how to do. It just takes a little bit of time and like just repeatedly doing it, like practicing it, but it's so helpful, saves so much time. Now I don't even have to go into a studio to do any of my covers or any of my songs. I can just cut all my vocals, background vocals, and send them off. And
Wow. So you're doing that still? I mean, for the album and everything, it's just
yeah, a
all
lot of the songs on
your.
the album I cut my own vocals for. All my covers I cut my own vocals for. So
That is awesome.
yeah.
That's
So I'm really glad I did it. I was like, this is the time. If I'm gonna spend like if I'm gonna get anything out of this pandemic, it's gonna be like you're gonna know how to produce your own vocals when you're done with this.
that's cool. And also, was it during the pandemic that you started doing the songs with like YouTube comments, or like
Yeah,
weren't you using comments to like write songs?
yeah. I released my well, it was my second hate comment song. My first one did really well too, but my second one was the one that went super viral, and I released that one just like a couple, like maybe 2 months before the pandemic hit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
they put together like an album, right, of songs that were similar to that, or
yeah, over the next like yeah, so I posted that one, and then over the next like 2 or 3 years, I wrote several different hate comment songs, and then also like other random ones were like just like creepy DMs, just that was depressing.
I bet.
Yeah, so just like I think there's a collection of like maybe 10 like internet comment songs now.
Yeah, you got a little collection of them on Spotify here. That's cool. Just like you did one, was it like, oh wow, people are resonating with this, like let me just go through and try to continue this. But I imagine that being pretty depressing. You're like, I got to read all these negative comments about myself and then put them
Well,
all down into a
it's
song.
really, yeah, it's really interesting because like the first comment song I released was actually that I wrote using comments from my channel, and they're just generally positive ones, but also just like really weird, funny ones. So the
Yeah.
first one was just kind of a funny, goofy song. People loved it, and I was like, okay, well, but what if I did hate comments? Because that's really funny. It's a really funny idea.
Mhm.
I'd seen a few people like kind of like either reading hate comments or like singing hate comments, but never in like the structure of a pop song. I'd never heard someone like turn it into like a real legit song. They're like, oh, I could hear this playing on the radio, but it's
Yeah.
comments. And so that's I was like, well, why don't I put my songwriting skills to the test and see if I can like make these like real songs. And people loved them. The first one they thought was great and funny, and then like I said, the second one was the one that really like took off. And I think at that point I was like, oh, this is a thing. This isn't
Mhm.
just because at first it was just me having fun and being goofy and trying to like, I don't, at that point I'd been doing covers for like maybe 10 years on YouTube, and I was like, I desperately need some other kind of content to mix in here that's not just an original song every once in a while and then tons of covers. Because at that point I was like, oh, I'm so burnt out on covers. So I just wanted something else that was just funny, that didn't have to do well, that could just be goofy and weird and
Uh-huh.
silly and like show my personality a little bit too. Cause like when you're just a music creator online, you don't have a lot of opportunities to show your personality. Like a little bit when you're releasing an original song, you can show that in maybe the music video or like when you're talking about the song. But other than that, like there aren't a lot of opportunities for me to be a personality online. I'm just a voice. And so I
Right.
was like, well, the comment songs at the very least show that I have a sense of humor. Like it shows my sense of humor.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, after the first hate comment song did well, it actually like flipped a switch in my brain, and I love hate comments now. I'm like, I see a good one, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna save this for my next video.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally flipped it on its head. I love
yeah.
that.
And I didn't think about how empowering that would be to like take those comments that over the years, or like even like I grew pretty thick skinned pretty quickly with the internet, because you just these people don't know me. I don't know them. They're
Right.
probably children, most of them, or just like weird people who are just I don't know, unhappy. So you're just like, you just write it off as like, it's a part of the job, just
Yeah,
receiving.
they're just an unhappy person.
But like,
Exactly.
there's still some that are just not fun to read. And
Right.
it can be kind of, depressing when it's like so many comments about like your makeup or your face or your body or whatever it is. And so after writing these songs, like I didn't think about how empowering it would be for me to be like, oh, well, now I actually like, I want you to leave a hate comment, please do.
Yeah.
I open
Yeah,
up my
I'll
song
turn it
and
into some content.
I'll turn it into a song. But the funny part is that actually I've gotten so much less hate on my videos since I've started writing the hate comment videos, because now nobody wants to leave hate comments because they don't want to be in the songs.
That's funny.
So I'm like, dang, well, I gotta find a new audience now.
Right,
Who
right,
doesn't know I
right.
do this. Yeah.
I had a question I was gonna ask you about this, but I can't. Now I'm spaced out. So then you you were on what, America's Got Talent as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and was that around? That
That
was
was like
during the
2 years
pandemic,
after. That was
or
2 years. Yeah, kind of during the pandemic, like towards the end of it. So I posted the hate comment video right before the pandemic, and then 2 years later, I auditioned with it for America's Got Talent, because it was one of those videos where like it just didn't stop. Every time I would post a clip of it, it would go viral. Any place I would post it, and I was like, I don't know, I think this is something. And then one day, randomly, I was at the dog park, and 5 different people came up to me at the dog park who didn't know me, and they're like, I watched your video and I love it. And they were like different ages, different genders, different backgrounds, different careers. And I was like, how did 5 different people in one time of me going to the dog park recognize me from this video and be like, I loved it, it was so cool. And I was like, maybe this is something that like if I auditioned for America's Got Talent, like it would do well. Because if it resonates with that wide range of an audience, I was like, maybe this would be good for television. And so that was literally my only thought. I had no plan for AGT other than I'm just gonna audition with the hate comment song. I think it will do well.
And you did really well on the show as well, and you got a
Yeah.
chance to play your own songs, which is cool. I love when artists do that, like if they're on American Idol or something. It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna slip in this original, because I mean, I would do the same thing if I was a singer-songwriter. I think you have this, massive platform of people watching. So that's cool. And was that scary at all? Or like, I mean, you're so used to being in front of the camera and
No,
doing the
terrifying.
YouTube
Absolutely
stuff,
terrifying.
but that's a
Absolutely not.
different.
Live television is like a totally different thing. But even like the audition was hands down the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my entire life. I actually think I left my body while it was happening, and I was just watching myself do it, because it's just it's like surreal to be in front of the judges. And then also there's so much like about produced television that's so unreal as well.
Mhm.
Where like when I walked out on stage, how I was like, I know you're that girl from TikTok. And I was like, well, not really, but like, sure, I'll be that girl. I'm like from YouTube or like the internet, but like
Yeah.
specifically TikTok, I'm like, only kind of.
Yeah. They're like, this is our angle for you on the show.
Exactly. So you immediately, like, as you're going through the show, it kind of feels like being on reality, like specifically this kind of reality television, is like there is a script. You just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going to say, but there is a script. There is a whole production going on, and they tell you your lines, but they do not tell you what lines they're going to say back to you.
Oh yeah. And then they just edit it up. I mean, it's like what they always show. I mean, I remember watching The Real World when I was a kid, and you'd hear them, they go into the confession room or whatever, and it was like, the producer's just like, oh, so-and-so is saying something about you, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, yeah, I hate that, blah, blah. And then they would just clip that piece.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we were able to bait him. We got this out of him. That's exactly what we needed to, kind of navigate the storyline here.
Yeah, totally. So
Wow.
it's that part of it also is nerve-wracking, where you're like, I have no idea what you're about to say to me.
Yeah. Am I going to be the villain?
Yeah.
But yeah, you made it pretty far on that show. I mean, you made it really far, actually. That's really cool.
Yeah. And Simon was really cool, which I mean, like, if you're gonna impress one of the judges, I would say,
yeah,
Simon's the one.
Yeah, the most brutally honest one.
Yeah.
And you've got your album coming out. You've released a couple songs that are going to make it on the album. What is Tattoos and Therapy going to be on the album? Because the track listing I have That's what I was wondering, because I have
Yeah.
like about
So
10
once you
songs. Some
submit,
of them.
yeah, so once you submit a song to like the distribution platform, you can't have it on SoundCloud anymore. It's the weirdest thing. So like
Oh,
we always make like a playlist of whatever our songs are for the album or whatever project we're working on. But then yeah, like once you submit it, you have to take it off of SoundCloud so that it's just missing from the list of songs.
yeah, that's what I was getting. I was reading
Yeah.
about you, and I was reading the press, and I'm like, am I looking at the right record? And then but it had the song that you're the next single. So I was like, okay, this has to be the right playlist. But that makes sense of
Yeah.
why those ones were not on there.
I know, and it's sad 'cause I think we distributed the album like it's either today, so that whole playlist is going to be gone. So
Oh, it is. I'm glad I got to listen to it
yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so tell me about the album. When do you start working on it?
So the album has been kind of a work in progress. I knew I was gonna like release the album last fall when I was in a writing session with one of the writers who's written like a handful of the songs on this album with me. And we were just talking about like aging in the industry as a female. And I was like, oh yeah, ha ha ha, this year I'm turning 30. So I'm basically Hollywood dead. And we were laughing about it and it was a joke. And I was like, wait, but is that like a joke? Because that's funny. This idea of age faster in Hollywood. Because 30 is just like you're barely have started your adult life, right?
I
Like in
know.
your 30s. But then in Hollywood, you're like there was a kid on my season of AGT that I spent a lot of time with, Peter. I was like, he's 9. My YouTube channel's older than him. I was like, I'm so old. But I'm not. But in Hollywood, you're like, but the talent just seems to be getting like more talented, younger, less like it's crazy, especially with TikTok. You're like, oh my gosh.
Right. I know.
I'm
Especially
oftentimes the oldest person in the room, and I'm like, how is this possible? I'm not that old.
you're not. I'm almost 10 years older than you. And so I'm like 30. Hopefully that's not old.
Yeah, no, but in
I'm knocking
Hollywood,
on 40.
it feels like it. It feels like it.
Yeah, for sure. So it was
Anyway.
writing about, yeah, that was kind of the concept in the beginning. Okay, like I'm almost 30, like, I'm aging out.
Aging out of Hollywood. But then also at the same time, I was like, maybe it's a good thing to be aging out of this idea of Hollywood, and maybe everybody should start aging out of this idea of Hollywood. And I think we're actually seeing it with like artists are getting older and older and making like really amazing music again, older, like especially female artists. Like
Mhm.
I think Casey Musgraves didn't even her like first songs didn't even like really blow up. Like she got her Grammys like in her 30s, right? So it's like
Mhm.
it's cool to see artists being recognized, especially female artists, like older and older, because it's like there's still so much good content to make.
Right. Yeah, age doesn't
Yeah,
matter at all. If you're writing great songs, I mean, that's all that should really matter.
exactly. So I think the industry it's getting better, but but yeah, so the whole concept of the album started with that song. And then I was like, well, what are these other concepts that we buy into in life that are just not real, that are just
Mhm.
Hollywood? And so I started using Hollywood as like the representation for like any sort of just like little societal lie that you tell yourself, right? And like, so this album is my journey of self-discovery from the time I came to LA till recently. And it just takes you through this journey of like excitement, being naive, disillusionment, working with some bad people that just make you hate this industry, and then being very angry for a time, but then coming around to realizing like everything like I've been through in this industry has just made me a better artist, made me a better songwriter. And then I get to like look back on my last 10 years of making content and learning how to write songs, and the people I've worked with, the bad deals I've done, the good deals I've done. I get to look back on all of it and be like, whoa, we did a lot. It was really cool. What can we do now moving forward with
Mhm.
that knowledge, with those skills, with that understanding? And in a sense, like being Hollywood dead just means like letting go of all the expectations that you had. Like I was saying, when I came to LA, I had this plan, like I was going to post videos on YouTube and get discovered and be famous and sign a record deal. And it turns out like signing a record deal would have been the worst thing that I could have done. Like my number one favorite thing about being an independent artist is the freedom. I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want. I get to, like, there's no timeline. I can, like, if I wanted to like release a song in 3 days, I could. And like, I love that freedom. So me having signed with the label would have been just absolutely the most like creativity crushing thing I could have done for at least somebody like me who's like very driven, like self-driven, and like I do a lot of stuff myself. And
well, you built your whole, your whole thing by yourself. I mean, that's what I always find interesting is like nowadays it's like you have the upper hand where it's like, what can you offer me? Like, what I already have this amount of streams, this amount of, YouTube subscribers, blah, blah, blah. You already have the platform, right? The only thing that they might be able to bring to the table maybe is distribution or whatever, but it's like, well, I'm not going to give up the rights to my songs or my masters. Like, are you crazy? Like, I can do this all independently. And then who knows, you put the whole album together and the label's like, yeah, this really isn't what we want to do. So we're going to just go ahead and shelf this for 6 months. And then you're spending, X millions of dollars trying to fight the lawyers and just try to get your songs back, and you can't release anything. I've just heard so many horror stories. I mean, not that all record labels are bad, but being independent and being able to do this on your own, I can't imagine, like, yeah, I mean, that must be so amazing.
Yeah, there's so much freedom in it. And also like, it's very empowering to just know your industry and know what kind of deals a label is going to offer to you and why they're bad and how to make them better. Like, for example, like they're doing licensing deals for short periods of time versus like actually signing a whole like 3 album contracts that they don't know if you'll ever fulfill with them. And,
right.
Yeah. Then so it's very empowering to like, I think all artists, whether you're with a label or not, you should know your industry. Like, you should know what you should be looking for. Cause there were even with my label in France, like if I hadn't been looking through the statements, I wouldn't have seen that they weren't paying me for one of the songs. I like, like the song that was doing the best.
You're like, wait a minute.
I was like, why are all the songs except for this one, like not on the statement? Cause the statements were in French, right? So I'm going through these things, and the only thing I have are just the titles of the song. And I'm like, but there's just one title that's missing. Why is there one title that's missing?
The one that's making the most money, of course.
Yeah, right? So it's like
how that worked out.
Yeah, knowing your industry, knowing your business, like being a person who like looks at everything is really important too. But I'm like that. But see, like me being with label would never have ever made sense. Like I'm so intricately like involved in every aspect of my business that I would have just been so annoying.
You're like, I'm gonna put this out. They're like, no, legally you can't. You're like, well, whoops.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. So did you, like, when you had that kind of moment where like, 30 Hollywood, well, that's the name of the record. I believe you released that information, right? Hollywood Dead. Did you write that song in particular? And we're like, okay, this is the story this is kind of the story I want to tell for the album.
Kind of. I wrote Hollywood Dead like kind of in the middle of putting the album together, because some of the songs for the album are as old as like maybe 4 or 5 years old. So some of them are like, when I was first writing songs. I think Serious is the oldest song on the album. I think it's 4 years old.
Oh, that's the recent single.
Yeah. Well, wow. I was going to release that song right before the pandemic hit, and then it hit, and I was like, "Oh, this is not the vibe." I was like, happy pop.
This is very serious.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just holding on to that one, but yeah, when I was writing Hollywood Dead, it actually, the hook of the song is sampling the melody from Beverly Hills from Weezer. And so
okay.
Yeah, so I had this idea. I was like, it'd be so cool because their song is also kind of satirically making fun of being
Beverly
famous
Hills.
in LA, or being poor and broke in LA, but then acting like you're rich.
Right.
So that was cool. And so I sampled that melody for the song for the Hollywood Dead, Beverly Hills, and then I wrote these verses. The first verse I wrote super fast. I was like, oh my gosh, there's always someone who's ittier, bittier, skinnier, prettier, and younger.
Yeah, I love that.
An opening line. And the whole song is just kind of like that. It's just satirical and kind of funny. And
yeah, I love your writing style. It's really
Thank you.
really unique. The song I listened to the whole, or the 10 I have, and I really like, I love the record, but the one that really stuck out to me is Half in Love and Almost Happy. I thought that song was, I was like,
Thank
damn,
you.
this is probably my favorite song on the album.
Thank you. That's why my husband says that too. He's like, "This is my favorite song on the album." I mean, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a hit. Well, there are a lot of them are hits, but I'm just saying that when I listened to it, I was like, damn, this is definitely the standout track to me.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a fun one.
Was that a newer or older
Newer.
one?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
a newer
okay.
one. So I wrote a handful of these songs with Sophie Simmons.
Oh, really? I've had her on my
Yeah.
podcast before.
Yeah, she's so talented. She's so
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Every time I get a session with Sophie, I'm like, cancel everything. Sophie wants to yeah, she's so incredibly talented, and like just one of those writers where, I mean, you can be writing with the most talented writers ever, but if you don't click with them, like you just don't have that spark with them, it might not work. But with Sophie, we walked in the room and we're like, wait, we think exactly the same way about songwriting. I'm like, yeah. So we end up, she actually wrote Doomsday in LA. She wrote Half in Love and Almost Happy. She wrote Dreams Die Hard. I'm trying to think if there's a fourth one, but those might be the three that she wrote for this album. But
wow. And yeah, I've interviewed other artists that have worked with her, but yeah, when I talked to her, it's so wild that her dad is in Kiss,
yeah.
right? And what she does is so different than
Yeah, exactly.
as far as like the way she writes and everything. But yeah, such a talented songwriter.
And hard worker too. Like,
oh yeah.
Such a hard worker. Yeah.
I was gonna say congratulations on your baby girl coming, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. I did read about, you've had a lot going on when it came to that. So
yeah,
that's so cool. Congratulations.
It's been a journey. And it actually started 2 years ago when when I auditioned for America's Got Talent, and a few days after the audition, I was like in emergency surgery. It turns out I have endometriosis, which is and stage 4, so like the worst. And the doctor was like, this is the worst case of this I have ever seen in anybody. And so the doctor was basically like, you have 2 choices: get a hysterectomy or have a baby. And I was like,
I'll take the baby.
Okay, I guess we'll try for the baby. Yeah, which led me down like a 2-year path of like hormone therapy and IVF, and it's been crazy. But here we are.
A friend of mine's wife has that as well. And then she was about to turn 35 when they fully diagnosed her. So then it was like, it was sad, they're like, sorry. I think when you get to a certain age, I don't think they'll.
Well, it's just like the longer it goes unnoticed, just the worse it basically just creates like scar tissue on all of your organs inside. So it can create scar tissue all over your uterus. And if that happens, it's like, well, there just isn't a uterus then for you to, or it can destroy your eggs. It can destroy your fallopian tube. So for me, it destroyed my fallopian tube. So that was why we had to go the IVF route. So because I was, missing some pieces.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's so awesome. And then I love the way you did the gender reveal with the like rockets. Like,
Thank you. It's very fun.
Is your baby due? I mean,
November.
Oh, wow.
November 24th.
Coming up.
I know.
Oh, wow.
I'm so
Thanksgiving, baby.
I know. I'm excited. I'm also excited for her to not be inside of my body anymore. I love her, and I'm like, take all the time you need, take all the space, but
yeah, I have 2 kids, and it's a change. But that's exciting. That's so cool. As far as your album will be out and everything, are you just going to do the playing it online? I mean, it'll be hard to
there's
get up on a stage when you're either still pregnant or just with baby.
Had a tentative tour scheduled in case like it didn't work, but it did. And so I was like, well, this is a good reason to not tour.
Yeah, 100%. Well,
probably next fall, probably.
Okay. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Madilyn. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you. This was very fun.
I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Take all the time you need.
Okay. Um, the first thing is your story is important. Your story is important and it's very interesting. And it took me a very long time to believe that my story was interesting, that I didn't have to embellish it, that I didn't have to like dress it up. Like me being a girl who came from Wisconsin to pursue music in LA, like that story is interesting. What you go through, your experiences, your emotions, they're interesting. They're your perspective. And literally only you can have that perspective on it. So you developing your unique perspective as a songwriter, as an artist is so essentially important, because you're going to have a lot of people tell you, you should sound like this, you should be this, you should make this kind of music, you should work with this person, but really only you at the end of the day know what speaks to you as an artist. And then with that, once you've developed like what it makes you unique and special as an artist, like please know your business. It doesn't take a lot of time to begin to learn the different royalty systems, how you collect money, like just learn. Please, because there's so much money. There's literally companies that will collect money off of your music and they won't tell you and they won't pay you if you don't go, hey, hello, pay me.
No, write you a contract in French.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just know your business, know your industry, do as much of it yourself as you can too. Like I didn't move to LA until it was absolutely essential. You don't have to live in LA to make great music. You don't have to move to LA to be a content creator. You can make great music and great content where you're at with what you have. So don't feel like you need to buy the most expensive gear, the most expensive cameras. Just start with whatever it is you have and start developing your songwriting, your artistry. And then if moving to LA becomes something that's essential, sure, go and do that when you have the money for it. But like, please don't feel like you have to buy the most expensive stuff, move to LA, and that's going to be the answer to you becoming an artist. It's really you developing all the skills and you knowing your industry. And like, I think for the longest time, I thought maybe like I need a manager or I need a label or I need X, Y, and Z. I need a publisher. You don't need any of those things. You really don't until you do. Right. And so until you need them, don't go looking for them. Just do everything yourself, because then you'll also know how to better hire them, because you'll know what job they're doing and you'll know what job you want them to do because you've been doing it.